Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Draft Capital here on the Nothing But Net channel on Dash Radio. You guys know who I am. You've heard my voice not that long ago. It's your friend Stephen Gillespie here, and I am reunited, and it feels so good with regular co-host Chris LeBron, president of the Off the Ball Network, host of the Off the Ball podcast, and just a really good dude. Mr. New York, everybody's been asking him his opinion on the Knicks lately, and he's made his rounds on all the shows today. I think this is his fifth podcast that he's made an appearance
I had to
on.
make up, man. I had to make up. I've
Had
been on the IL, so I had to make up for lost pods.
Yeah, making up for lost pause. That's fair, but man, it's Chris. Just first off, before I even introduce you, how you doing, man? I miss you, bro. How's everything?
Man, you've been killing it on these shows, and I've been so eager to get back talking draft because it's I love it. So
We love it,
yeah,
man.
I
Yeah.
love it, and you've been killing it. So, but yeah, I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to be back. I missed some shows, but I'm happy to be back. It's always fun chopping up with you talking ball. So I'm excited.
Yeah, man, me too. And I know you were on Mo's show, you were on Brian's show. I don't know how many other ones that you made an appearance on today, but we finally got you home here on Draft Capital, and couldn't think of a better time for you to release your big board, man. And it's today. I have it in front of me. I know everybody's ready and waiting. Everyone is already looking at the title of this show. They know that we're going to be talking about your big board. And I know they're so excited, Chris. But first, before we even get into that, I got to remind everybody that Draft Capital is brought to you by Built Bar. And unlike all the other, bars that are out there that you can buy, purchase, whatever, consume, sometimes, man, they don't taste as good. And people are a little hesitant about getting those things. But I promise y'all, if y'all get Built Bar, you're going to love it so much. We got everyone on the network raves about how good they taste. They don't taste like old Play-Doh or cardboard. You think that you're eating a candy bar because the chocolate's real. It's good. It's got all the protein that you'll ever want in there. They got awesome flavors, man, like, the coconuts in there, peanut butter brownie, strawberry. They got like 15 different flavors of chocolate bars in there. Your kids are going to love them, so you're going to buy more for them. You think it's going to cost a lot, but it's really not. And on top of all of that, we can hook you up with an even better deal if you use promo code off the ball. That's OFFTHEBALL at built.com. We will give you guys a 10% discount because we're such good friends with the folks over at Built Bar. That's off the ball as the promo code at built.com. All right, Chris. So getting into it, man, I have your board in front of me, and I know over the past couple of days that you really got into it. I know you're always looking at prospects, right, Chris? You're always
Yes.
looking, you're evaluating, you're looking at, who's capturing your eye, who do you think projects better. And first off, man, before we begin into the players, we're going to tease the audience here a little bit more. What's your process like, man? Like, are you more so leaning into the early season projections that you had for maybe preseason discussion? Are you looking at guys who maybe are sophomore, junior, senior, looking for guys that you think might take a leap? There's a little bit of everything. How much do you lean into the international prospects? We got G League now. We got Overtime Elite in their
So
inaugural
much.
season.
It's so much.
There's so much that you got to look at and evaluate. So with that being said, Chris, this isn't your first rodeo. You've been heavily evaluating drafts for the past, 3-4 seasons. You've been doing it your whole life, right? But you've been heavily invested, scouting, talking with people, getting them on your shows, talking with the guys on the network. You got hundreds of players that we got to consume, man. So like, what's ground zero look
More.
like for you?
Maybe
What,
thousands. It feels like it's
you got
crazy.
thousands, right? But realistically,
Of course.
even on my player pool right now, I have over 200 players that I'm like actively watching, keeping tabs on, researching, and all that. What's ground zero look like for Chris LeBron when he's building a big board? The first one, 1.0. What's that look like for you?
It's a lot of factors in because there's just so many elements of basketball, right? And you have to project, right? And you're trying to figure, okay, what skills translate to the next league? And we've talked about this a lot. Like certain guys who are struggling right now in college or the G League and all that, we have to look at it. Okay, why are they struggling? And are they struggling simply because they're young And the style of play, like we talk about this in college, right? Sometimes the style of college doesn't fit certain guys who like to just go, right?
Yeah.
So that's factoring that in too. So like seeing, okay, what guys just like to just go, right? And just okay, I think this guy's game is going to translate better at the next level than it is going to be in college, and same thing with the G League and all that. So to me, there's just so many factors, and just figuring out, because we got so many leagues that it's not just college anymore, right?
No.
Just a few years ago, it was just like, all right, we're just worrying about college. And then if we hear anything about a guy overseas, there might be one or two guys maybe that we need to hear about overseas. Now there's,
Well,
the
let
whole
me ask you
draft
real
is
quick
strictly on
about.
that.
I'm sorry. Let me ask you about the international, because even that's getting larger now. Like the leagues and international player
So many leagues, yeah.
the NBL over the past couple seasons have been like a breeding ground, so to speak, of really talented players. I mean, you've got a couple of guys even on your big board currently today. We'll get into these guys. You got two dudes in your top 30 that are playing NBL right now. And they're teammates. They're on the same team.
Yeah.
There's even more players over the past couple seasons coming out of the NBL that are making an impact in the early going of their careers already. So even the international play is getting better and deeper. And then, Chris, you look domestically, we already talked about college basketball isn't the only place where you can go anymore in the States and make a name for yourself and get drafted. I mean, how huge was it that the NBA were like, hey, let's make the G League ignite. These guys can get paid. Not only that, that's the part that everybody focuses on, right? But they hold, classes and seminars and things like that, teaching kids, literally kids who were just playing high school. Now they're learning how to, make money, how to handle the media. They're put in situations that are going to make them uncomfortable intentionally in a safe environment. They're not worried about winning 15 straight games, Chris. They're worrying about, let's make these guys the best possible players that they can be at the next level. And now Overtime Elite, where it's hard to evaluate these guys too, because they are literally playing high school kids, but they got the production.
Sophomores,
They're getting
freshmen.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like guys who are 3-4 seasons removed from being drafted, they're playing in really good arenas. They're getting publicity. They're getting, no kidding, scouts, NBA level scouts coming there and watching them in year one. There's going to even be more leagues coming up over time, Chris. It's crazy. That's why I want to get you just to, how much do we need to put into, evaluating a 1.0 big board? Like, is this obviously I know better, Chris, but like for the audience, your 1.0 big board, obviously you're going to have a lot of variance over the season, right? But you have to start somewhere. That's why I'm asking ground zero for your big board. How much of it is just, I got to watch as many players as I can. Let me put their names on paper and we'll see what happens later, because you're allowed to change your mind as the season moves along, right? So how much stock should we put into a 1.0?
I mean, it's just kind of like a base point. Like I'm always writing down players, whether it's listening to you or any of the draft guys we've interacted with. If it's a name I haven't been too familiar with, I always jot it down. But like, okay, when I get to it, I'm gonna see what's up, because this, like we said, there's so many guys. You can't watch all of them. I mean, you try, but you figure out, okay, what do I need to know about this guy that maybe I haven't missed? So I mean, I'm always jotting down. I got a book full of guys. I just write down a random name, like, or if I'm just out, I'm like, you just watch a game and you're like, oh, okay, that guy. Oh, okay, write him down. Yeah. He's popping. Let's see what. Let's figure him out. Let's see what's going on with it. So there's just so many factors. 1.0 is just a general base thing, and like we talk about, it's gonna. I'm gonna change it right maybe after the show and be like, oh well, and you hear about, like, you got the games in the background, I'm like, oh. Okay, all right. Who's that guy from Villanova? Okay, gotta watch more of him. So like, it's gonna change, but it's just kind of like a base point for me, And like I said, it's gonna change. 2.0 to 3.0, like we do with the mock drafts, right? We're gonna do a mock draft. We did mock draft. When we do 5.0, it's gonna be like, whoa, well, that guy was a lottery pick in 1.0. Now he's outside. He's not even
this guy wasn't even on Steven's top 80 in 1.0, and now he's a lottery pick.
And
we're gonna see guys like that.
Yeah, it's gonna be the same way. We're gonna, this happens all the time, right? There's gonna be a BJ Boston where he's a top 5 pick coming in and then drops to the second round. Right? We're gonna be
Jalen Johnson,
right? And then it's just a matter of figuring out like does their skills translate? Like why did they struggle? Why did BJ Boston struggle at Kentucky? Well, there's a lot of factors, and then you see him in the pros. You're like, all right, you just just better at the next level. Right? We're seeing it with a bunch of guys. Cole Anthony, right? Another guy who's excelling at the next level. Jaden McDaniels, right? Then you were high on Jaden McDaniels, right?
Top 5
and I started
guy,
to get on it because I started to understand. Okay, he's skilled, has all the skill. It's just you just picked the wrong school, and that's why it's also important to pick the right school. Because if you pick the wrong school, it's going to hurt your stock. And now you drop to the second round when you're really a top 10, 15 talent, and your skill is tough and it suits the NBA game. Meanwhile, you pick the wrong school, and now that hurts your stock. And we've seen this we see it with so many guys who just pick the wrong school, and then that hurts their stock. And now you got to climb up, and it's tough. That NBA road, if you are not drafted, is a gauntlet. Like, it is tough. We're seeing it with a lot of guys that we all the underclassmen we see every year come out. Everyone thinks but there's only so many spots, and that road, it's a grind. So like, the process of trying to figure out that is fun.
It's a lot of fun, man. All right, so let's not mince it up anymore. We understand, Chris. We're in your mind now. We understand that moving forward, let's not put a whole lot of stock into this. Maybe you're leaning a little bit more on what you were hearing about in the preseason and stuff like that. And, maybe you just watch the guy and he just shot right up because you just like the way he plays and you think that he projects well. So, Chris, I'm looking at your board here. We're going to talk about all 30 of these guys. Maybe not all of them in depth. Eventually, we will just read all 30. But I want to start with your top 4. Now, this is where it's going to get spicy from the early going. Let's just say, who's the number 4 player on your board?
Chet Holmgren. Chet is my number 4 guy. So that's probably got people like, okay, why?
So explain yourself, right? Is this so much that you're not a believer in Chet, or are you a little bit like me where I have Chet 3rd overall, but I just have the 2 guys that are ahead of them? It's not that I think that Chet's a bad player. It's just that I think these guys are that daggum good.
That's exactly where it's not that because if I didn't like Chet, I would have him freaking down even lower, right?
Right.
I have him 4. He's still a top 5 pick to me. Like the intrigue of him is top 5 alone, right? Because there's just so much untapped stuff that it may be worth a top 5 pick for some team, and he's still great rim protector and all that stuff. But there's just the 3 guys I have ahead of him. To me, they scream NBA. They scream to me, and I have Paolo number 1. I got Jabari.
Shocker, right? Like nobody has Paolo number 1.
Yeah. I've had Paolo number 1 for like 2 years. Like when everyone was on the Chet, I was like, there's a guy named Paolo Banchero that, maybe because he was going to Duke. Maybe that.
That might have had a little something.
Little. But I was like, I think he's the top guy. I think he should be the number 1 player in the country right now. Everyone with the Chet, but yeah, I love Banchero and what he can do. Jabari. Sky since game 1, I'm like, okay, all right. This dude this dude has everything you want.
Let me put this out there about Jabari, Chris. I look at him and I want to just see if I'm crazy or if anybody else is seeing this too. Obviously, the numbers look great, right? Like that's why he's number 2 on your board. On my 1.0, he was number 2. I also had our first 2 are the exact same order. We both have Paulo, then we both had Jabari. Right. When I watch Jabari, obviously the numbers are great. He is intense. Like he's so much fun to watch, Chris, but I cannot get away from the reason that he is higher than some of the other people that had even more preseason noise is because the intangible aspect of him, how much he really invests in a game emotionally, it seems like. And you can call me crazy for looking at that and valuing that maybe more than I should. But if you just pay attention to the greatest who have ever done it, and I'm not saying that Jabari is going to be one of the greatest to ever do it, but he has similar traits, right? And a lot of that has to do with the intangibles, the leadership. He has so much give a crap on both ends of the ball, Chris, that I cannot get away from saying players like Kevin Garnett, Giannis Antetokounmpo. When I watch Jabari, the way that he carries himself and how much he invests emotionally in every single play, it gives me vibes of Kevin Garnett and Giannis Antetokounmpo. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's he does it on both ends. He's
Yeah.
just he got so much energy, brings it on both sides of the ball. There's just so much to like about him. On top of his shooting ability, scoring ability. I mean, it wouldn't even surprise me if a team is like, and I could see why a team would be like, I like him over Paolo. And I could definitely see it now. I think Paolo is the number one pick. I think I would take him number one right now if I was a GM.
Mm-hmm.
But if you said, I think we should take Jabari, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think he has superstar ability.
Mm-hmm.
And some people might think he has more superstar ability than Paolo. And now
Well,
I've heard a lot of people say that.
the thing about Paulo right now, Chris, excuse me for cutting you off there, but he's already so good so early that I think that people are just bored with him.
I forgot who said that on that. I think it was Rafael Barlow.
Rafael Barlow had pointed that out. Yeah.
I think he pointed like he's so good that at this point you're just nitpicking.
We need a new toy to play with.
Yeah. So like he's not the item of the month, right? He's not on he's not the sale of the month, right? It's Jabari now, right? Because in the beginning it was right. It was Chet, right? Going into the season it was Chet, right? Chet. Yeah. Everyone talking about Chet. Then Paolo has the game against Kentucky and like, whoa. All right. And then Paolo's a flavor of the month. And then it goes to Jabari's now, and like, I think we're going to get to nitpick season with Paolo. It's like, we're going, he doesn't when he gets on the post, he doesn't go to his left. It's like, all right, now
he doesn't pass enough. He doesn't pass enough. He's cramping in games.
Cramping and all that. We're going to hear the little stuff. And it's like, okay, now we're nitpicking now. All right. And I don't like nitpicking little things. Like I get your it's scouting and all that, but I see too many people nitpicking like little things that are like, all right, no, that's just come on, guys.
Really. You're trying a little too hard.
Yeah, like you don't have. I feel like scouting sometimes guys try to be too sophisticated and like want to be like, oh well, then is this and that, and it's like, okay, can he ball? And can you think he can ball at the next level? Like we don't have to be like every player is gonna have a weakness, strength, and all that, right? Even the great Kevin Durant has weaknesses as a player. LeBron James, yeah, it's like if you're allowed to have weaknesses, and we too many people focus on that, and like, well, to me, and that's what we're getting with Paolo's, that people are nitpicking and like, oh well, you know what? I still have him number one. I still think everything he does can translate to the next level, and that's it. But Jabari, I wouldn't be, if you like Jabari number one and you think the upside is greater, I'm not opposed to that because to me, he may scream the most superstar potential. Like he has superstar potential, maybe the highest out of anyone in this class.
I think, right, another way maybe to phrase this too, Chris, like the way I picture it in my head is that from where he is now to where the greatest version of himself is, I think that there's more room to play with there. Whereas Paolo, not saying that he's a finished product, right? But there might not be as wide of a gap between the best version of himself and where he is today, which that's really hard to quantify. Yeah.
The floor is higher with Paolo, where maybe the ceiling isn't as, but like with Jabari, the ceiling is through the like Jordan said, it's through the roof. The ceiling is the roof. Yes, the ceiling is the roof. So like I could see why people may take that and be like, all right, I like Jabari more than Paolo or even Chet, like because Chet freaking. We don't know what Chet.
What is he a convertible? Like, does he like where? What is Chet right now?
He's so hard. He's really hard to figure out too because it's like he's got the 12-foot wingspan,
a 7-foot forever wingspan is what. I like
but he's like this though, like I talk about this all the time. Like, all right, you're gonna get stronger at the next level.
Yep.
But man, like you need to start eating some Cheerios or something.
But the thing is, Chris, is like what I keep saying about Chet, and we're talking about our number 4 guy right now. We're gonna get into number 3 because man, I really like him a lot.
Yeah.
But the thing I keep saying about Chet is that he's a Venus flytrap. The opposing big is gonna look at him on defense and say, I can back this dude up to the paint. Maybe they can, and they keep bumping him and pushing him and pushing him. And then they're like, okay, here's my time to get a shot up over Chet. Then boom, the shot's gone. And he's dribbling and passing to whoever on Gonzaga, and it's a automatic bucket, right? So
Yep.
Chet, I don't. He literally has like zero ceiling right now, right? No ceiling for him. So let's talk about number 3. And I know friend of everybody on draft Twitter, right? Like Simon Rath is he
Hmm.
I don't know if he has a show or a website, but everybody values everything that Simon Rath says. Like I know he works tremendously hard. You know, he's posting, you know, videos and pictures at the gym. He's squatting like 2,000 pounds. And between all of that, he's always posting prospects that like everybody looks at the names of these players and they're like, all right, thank you, Simon. Now I have to, you know, go and watch another player because you dropped him on
Yeah, yeah,
Twitter.
yeah.
And it's always a good player, right? But Simon loves Jaden Ivey. I believe he had him number 1 on his board that he posted on Twitter. Um, love Jaden Ivey. I wish I had the onions like some of these other guys, even like you, Chris. You have him above a Chet Holmgren. I don't know if I'm ever going to be comfortable enough putting him there, but I really respect the vision that you and Simon have with him. But go ahead and talk about what the appeal of having a Jaden Ivey so high on your board is.
I just think, his athleticism, the way he bends around the corner. I've heard this comparison, and I'm like, I'm not a big comparison guy, but it's very D Wade-ish.
Okay, I haven't
Very.
heard a D Wade Jaden Ivey
I've heard a
comparison
few
yet.
times. I heard a few
Okay,
times. I've heard it, and I'm like, oh, I hate comparing college kids to
the best to ever do it.
to
Yeah,
maybe one of the best guards, two guards to ever, play the game of basketball. But it's like the way he makes that bend around the corner, and his athleticism and all that, and just his improvement. It's like I've told you about this. Like the guys that make that like John Morant leap, like, and that's
yeah.
what it feels like. It's John Morant. We heard about him as a freshman, and he takes that massive sophomore year, leap, and it's got a little John Morant in him too. Like he's just so much fun to watch, so twitchy and all that. And like to me, that's easily translates to the next level.
Yeah.
Easily translates to the next level. Obviously, we could nitpick and be like, well, there's certain things you need to work on and all that, mid-range game and all that. But man, he's so much fun to watch. And he's just everything about his game. I think he could be a 3-level potential scorer in this league. But I like guys who just make that improvement. Like you see his freshman year, and he could have came out as a freshman, right?
He
And
could
maybe
have,
being
yeah.
a first round pick, right? Maybe a first round pick, but he said, you know what? I think I could be better. Yeah, I think I could be, and I think so far he's made a really good decision because now at this pace, he's a top 5 pick locked. He's a locked top 5 pick, and he's made a
It's going to
great
be
move.
really hard to kick him out of a top 5. Extremely difficult.
It's gonna be really hard. But everything about his game, and there's just more to room to grow as a playmaker and all that.
Chris, is he a lead guard, or does that even matter to you?
I don't even think it matters. I don't think it matters. I think he can handle the ball a little bit. I think that's all you need. As long as he's able to handle the ball enough that that's not really a factor if he's a lead guard or not. But we've seen so many guys. You need multiple ball handlers on a team, and we're seeing
100%.
that like whether they're a lead guy or not, you got to be able to handle the rock no matter what. We're seeing more teams, just even the bigs. You need to be able to. If you're not be able to handle the ball, you're not gonna unless you're like a crazy, like a Rudy Gobert type player.
But
Where
even Rudy is making strides.
and even
on
Rudy,
offense.
we're seeing Rudy like finally realize, hey, you got to do that more to the bag, right?
At least 2 dribbles, bro. That's all we need. Just put it on the ground
I
twice.
can't stand guys who just get the ball and just don't do nothing with it.
Yep.
To me, you're wasting space.
They're 5-second subtractions from the shot clock as soon as they grab
you're
it.
wasting so much time and spacing, and that just messes up those. So I guys who can be able to handle it. So I think whether he could definitely be at least a very good second, primary ball handler on the team. But yeah. Like I said, the D Wade stuff, like even he has like the size of D Wade coming out of Marquette. Like I hate comparisons, and I hate that I even did that because now there's expectations of him being D Wade. But did anyone think D Wade was going to be D Wade out of Marquette? Like no one thought he was going to be that. Like it's so. But yeah, he's so much fun to watch, man. He's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you never know that D Wade's going to be D Wade, but that's what you hope for. So when you take a Jaden Ivey 3, that's what you're hoping for. You're hoping for a really dynamic guard who can play on both sides of the ball. The
That's
shot
on
was
the
one of the
defense end too. He could bring it.
defense is there. And the thing is that the shot got better this season too. And that was one of the biggest aspects of his game where people were like, is the shot coming around? Because he was
Shot
one of these.
selection, yep.
You have these college guys, and now you're going to see it in the G League, and you're going to maybe see in the overtime elite or whatever, and overseas as well, where second half of the season, these guys start figuring things out. And then it's like, okay, is this real? Is this sustainable? And that's where doubt can kind of creep in with the guy. But they come back for a sophomore season. We're going to be talking about another stellar sophomore here soon who's answering a lot of the same questions.
And I think we're going to get more guys doing that because before the NIL stuff, everyone wanted to just go to the league because that's where the money was. Yep. Now that you can make some money in college, like if you're
or the overtime elite or the G League
or wherever, like if you're like a fringe first round pick and okay, if I just go back, I could make some money and I could get my draft stock like a Jaden Ivey. Okay.
And good coaching.
Yeah. And he's on a really good team. So that's going to help you profile even more, right? A top 5 team.
Coach Painter is doing it big right now.
Yeah, they're doing great. Like they're probably still number one if Ron Harper Jr. doesn't hit the crazy shot.
Hey, there you go. He's not on your top 30, but whatever,
Yeah.
Right.
My top 60. Spoiler alert.
There you go. So let's talk about number 5, Jalen Duran. I know that you just said you hate comparisons, right? But Jalen Duran might have some of the most comparisons of anybody else in this draft class. I hear Bam Adebayo. I hear Dwight Howard. I've even thrown out, DeMarcus Cousins comparisons with him because of the way that he plays, right? And you have him number 5. I have him a little bit lower, but I understand the appeal of a Jalen Duran. But Chris, why do you have him number 5 when you can't draft a center, a back to the basket big this early? That's against the rules. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, no, it's disallowed. You cannot do that. Yeah, I just so much intrigue with him, man. He's just a specimen and all that. And I'm not saying that he's going to have like he's going to be able to shoot it deep and all that. But I definitely can see him, developing a nice little, pop-up jumper.
You can see a 17-year-old developing. Is that what you're telling me, Chris?
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like he's 17. I think didn't he just turn 18 years old?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think he just turned 18. Like, and we talked about this too. Like, these are kids, right? These are kids we're talking about. Like we have to also put that in perspective. He's a baby. He just turned 18 years old.
He should still be in high school.
He should still be in high school. So remember when you were in high school, when you just turned 18, like we didn't know what the hell we were doing at that age. And we thought we did, but exactly like people like, oh, well, I don't see this developing. It's like, well, why can't he get better? Like he can't. Like it just that's the annoying part about the whole scouting when and we talked about before, nitpicking. Like, but he's such intriguing. What he does now, just around just what he does right now, just grabbing everything around the rim, finishing
without a really like what he would expect to see at an NBA level point guard.
Exactly, right. And he got Amani, another baby on the team. So like they got a lot of young guys on that team trying to figure things out. That's why they've had their ups and downs this year. And Penny's trying to figure things out, but
that offense is rough, bro. It's
yeah. And but there's just so much intrigue. You got a 7 foot, another guy who his wingspan is through the roof. But just grabs it right now. You're drafting off potential and all that. I think there's a potential with nice little midi. That's the thing we didn't see from Dwight Howard. We never saw him expand his game one bit. Even his post move, he never had a post game.
Never needed to. He's the best center in the NBA for like 10 seasons.
And he also benefited that there wasn't, when he was dominating, there wasn't really guys that he was, there wasn't a lot of guys that he needed to do all that. All he had to do was be just him, athletic, and just because there wasn't, Andrew Bynum, at times like
there were older
guys, but there wasn't anything like
never a guy that like step in step with him.
Not
right?
even
even though Emeka Okafor was drafted in that same draft class, he faded well before Dwight.
Yeah. Like we didn't see the presence of bigs that we're seeing now. People always talk about this. Oh, the bigs we're seeing there's a lot of good bigs in this league. They just evolved.
Yeah,
There's
MVP level bigs,
evolution. They're
right?
just not the typical, back to the basket. You got Embiid and Joker and Karl Anthony Towns and Bam Adebayo. These are hybrids. These are a
Yeah.
whole new breed of bigs.
Stretch bigs, hybrid
Yeah, stretch
posts, all
bigs. So
those
like
guys that
Dwight
aren't
Howard,
P3.
when he was coming out, he didn't need to do all that because it's like, I'm just gonna dominate in here. Who's stopping? I don't need a post game. Who's stopping
Jump
me?
over whoever, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
yeah. And I think maybe long term they may have hurt him because as his body started to break down, we saw
He did
him,
have one good season shooting from three
yeah,
when the Lakers were, top of the West.
yeah. So
I
like
think
with
at one point he was leading the team in 3-point percentage. It was nuts.
two attempts the whole year, 50%.
I'm just saying. I'm just
50%
saying.
is 50%. But like with Durant, I think I buy a little bit more. Like I said, the Dwight Howard. We've heard the Dwight Howard comparisons, and you see with the freakish athleticism. But I think I still buy that he can develop a little, pop up elbow, jump shot at least.
We've
I'm not.
seen it. We've seen him
Yeah,
back and
we've
do
seen him.
down,
Yeah,
hit him with the little shoulder shake and turn around and do
yeah.
something.
Even
Yeah.
some post moves, like I think his, he could develop all that. So
The passing is you see some good post passing out of there too when people go to double team him. So there's a lot to like about Jalen Duran here. So let's keep going, Chris. I'll just recap your top 5. You got Paolo Banchero, Jabari Smith Jr., Jaden Ivey, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Duran. Now we start getting into some funky players, right? Jaden Hardy, the G League Ignite darling, the guy who's supposed to be leading the charge on this team, kind of late to the party a little bit in terms of efficiency, but our friend at Backcourt Violation, Tyler Rucker, had Kyle Nishimoto, who is a guy that both of those two gentlemen had, G League experience. And Kyle is coaching, and I'm so glad I listened to their episode together, Chris, because, Kyle pointed out that the G League already knows what Hardy's good at. They are going to try to showcase every other aspect of his game. They're going to try to put him in uncomfortable situations. And the efficiency hadn't been there. But what are we seeing now, Chris? He's getting more comfortable. He's playing against probably the greatest jump in competition out of any other player right now in this draft class, going from high school to guys who are either former, current, or aspiring pros on a game-by-game basis. And he's starting to figure things out. Those 20-point performances are starting to come in. Those more efficient games are starting to come in. You have Jaden Hardy 6. I know that means you hate his guts, right? You have him 6 and you can't stand him, right? But
he's above.
Obviously a little tongue in cheek there. So, Chris, I know that you like Hardy. What was the purpose of keeping him out of your top 5? Did you just need to see a little bit more of what he's already showing now lately? Or do you just think that those guys are that much better or have that much higher of a, outcome in their game?
It's just simple. I just like the guys ahead of him a little bit more. Like I actually had him down, maybe like when I started doing the board, I had him probably a little bit more down, but his play of late has been better. Like he's getting comfortable.
Sure.
So that's also another factor. And his guys getting comfortable. Like remember, you go from going to high school, now you're going straight to playing professional basketball.
Yeah.
There's going to be it's an adjustment. It's like any phase of life. You go to a new situation, new job, new place to live, new town, new city. It's gonna take some time to adjust, and then you get comfortable, and you're like, okay, all right, this is all right. That's what he's getting. He's one that maybe he might rise for me, because he's another one like Jaden Ivey, like, that can get around and can be a 3-level scorer, has that, playmaking,
terrific range, that shooting.
He's got deep range. He could shoot it from deep and all that. So he has all that in his bag. Just think of people, like, it feels like a lot of G League guys who nitpick because they're playing professional. Technically, they're playing professional basketball. So you're going to nitpick, right?
Like 50% of the league has G League experience now. So G League is not anything to be ashamed about anymore.
Exactly. And they did it last year with the G League guys and all that, and doing it again this year. But, I think he's in his groove. I think he's finally settling down, playing his game, getting comfortable. And I think we're going to see another – why people were so infatuated. I mean, I saw some people had him going into this season as the number 1 pick. Like people were that high on him. Like I know
our friends Corey and Albert,
I know Rashad Phillips was super high on him too. Like he was. That's why I first started hearing about him. He was high on him. So a lot of people were really high on him, and still were. But like he went through his growing pains. But like he's getting the groove. He's getting his groove back, and that's what he's a hooper. He's a hooper. He's a professional bucket getter and certified bucket getter. And those guys usually find it, And once he gets it going, he gets that. He's always been a confident player.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get to you're playing pros, you're trying to figure out how to get. He's in his groove. I think he's someone that I could even put in that he could bump one of my guys and get into that top 5. Wouldn't be surprising that does happen because he seems like he's rolling.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, he at his highest outcome has probably the most difficult skill set to find. It's all about him though, being able to be a better ball handler, being able to facilitate for his teammates, and then obviously being a bucket getter, being an efficient bucket getter is the highest level outcome that you would hope for with him. And he has the potential to do that, man. So let's talk about your number 7 guy, Nikola Jovic. Now, for those who remember, I believe, Chris, that he was your number 1 international prospect. When we had Tyler Rucker on for our first ever, Draft Capital show where we hosted somebody, we had Tyler Rucker on and we talked about all our international guys. I liked Nikola Jovic a lot. I only had him number 2, right? So obviously I can't stand him. But
you can't stand
in all
How
honesty,
dare you have him number 2? You're not allowed to do that.
Correct.
You have to be consensus.
Consensus number 1. But we were all crazy about Nikola Jovic. You still have him pretty high, and to your credit, Chris, he's coming around now. A lot of he's starting to show what everybody was hoping for. It's starting to just start coming out a little bit more this season. That's enough for you to still have him number 7, yeah?
Oh yeah, I love him.
I know you do.
He's my darling. He's one of my darlings. Yeah, like I said, he's coming on late. Had a little bit of rough patch start off, but he's playing good. I know the efficiency, the numbers still aren't there, but I feel like he's another guy. He's getting his groove. Last game, I think he had 25. So he's getting his groove back. There's so much to like about him. Like I said, the playmaking, the him in transition, his confidence, everything. So I think he's getting in the groove. Last few games have been really good. Last game was really good.
Yeah,
he's getting in the groove. The perimeter shot's going to get there. I'm just confident. I'd like him. To me, he's top 10. I absolutely number 1 international guy to me by far.
That hurts my heart a little bit because we're going to talk about my number 1 international guy a little bit further down.
And I like your number 1 too.
I know you do.
He's come along too. Like he's another one who I intrigued in the beginning, and now like okay, I'm starting to buy in fully into him too. But
I understand, right? Because Jovic has that size, and when you got somebody his size who can dribble, pass, and shoot, it's really difficult to come across a guy like that. And the consistency, you want to see a little bit more of that. But, hats off to you, man, for having a number 7. Let's talk about your number 8 guy because nobody's talking about him at all. Patrick Baldwin Jr. No one's talking about how bad he's playing lately. So we're gonna break ground here. This is gonna be the first place that you're gonna hear people talk about the struggles of Patrick Baldwin Jr. on a draft podcast. So Chris, you have him 8. Is it because he turned down Duke?
No, man, and it sucks. It sucks, and maybe he would. No, it would have been too much if he went to Duke. It's too many mouths to feed. But obviously, he's obviously been a hot topic because the numbers aren't there. The games against big, the greater opponents. I mean, who did you just play? Jabari. Jabari.
Well, they've played
Colorado. Yeah,
they played Colorado, then they played Rhode Island, and
Jabari
they also
Walker,
played Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, so they played against. There's some games where he's played against, and the Florida game they got absolutely dismantled.
Yes.
And Colorado, they lose by 15 points or whatever. So he didn't show up in those games, and people are going to nitpick, right? They're gonna not nitpick, but they're gonna pick because he's playing in a low level school. So
some people care about that stuff. Some people don't. Like in my opinion, however you evaluate prospects, that's fine as long as it's not just like outright slanderous. That's okay. I get the notion of being able to say we want to see how he does against the best competition that he's going to play against and valuing that a little bit more. Like I understand the merit of that, Chris, but where do you land on that? Do you look at those games and look at that and say, I don't care at all. I care too much. I care just enough. Like, where are you at with that?
I mean, we want to see him play good against, see how he fares against the top, because he's not going to have a lot of those games against high marquee, teams.
Well,
Florida
Rhode Island was the last, I guess top 100 or so team that he's going to play against. So we just got to watch him play against the Horizon League now, unless for whatever reason they make some sort of like NIT push or tournament run.
And March. Most likely this is not going to happen because they're just not a good basketball
team. Not
a
good team.
And I think that's another aspect you have to evaluate too. It is like his surrounding pieces aren't that good. Let's keep it real. Like, he's just not a good team. And listen,
relative to the other talent that we're evaluating in this draft,
relative to the other team, where guys are having a couple pros on their team, whether they're going to be an international. I don't see. I mean, I know he got Vin Baker, Vin Baker's son on the team, but he's not doing much. But it's like, doesn't have a lot of talent around him. And listen, he definitely is not going there if his dad's not the coach and all that. And like I said, he was going to Duke. Like that was like 100% crystal ball was going to Duke. Things change, obviously. And I thought maybe he would benefit a little bit because he's not going to Duke. It's like sort of like the Cam Reddish, like what happened with Cam Reddish. Like you get lost in the shuffle because obviously Duke had AJ Griffin and they got Paolo. You can get lost being the third wheel in a college.
And they got Kills, and then Wendell Moore broke out.
And then look at Wendell Moore breaking out now. If Patrick Baldwin's out there, maybe Wendell Moore is not having the season he is.
Knows?
Where he's jumping, his stock is going through the roof, right? Trevor Kills, we might see Trevor Kills. Maybe Paolo
Mark Williams is on that team too.
Right? So. Guys are going to take a step back, but obviously shooting numbers aren't great right now. But I still think he's and. You have talked about it, and I've heard some other people talk about just the effort, right? The effort, and you want to see more of that effort. He's very, very laid back, right? And I heard some people say, they could see Paul George in him, right? That could be his ceiling, but the floor could be Kevin Knox. And then I had to really think about that. And I was like, "Ooh, wow." Now, he's a way better shooter than Kevin Knox was even coming out of Kentucky. I don't think Kevin Knox I don't think he'll be Kevin Knox.
Better ball handler.
He's a way better ball handler than Kevin Knox. Sometimes
shot creator. I think in a lot of areas he's already better.
He's already better than Kevin Knox in a lot of aspects. I think he's already more confident than Kevin Knox was in his first few years. Now, Kevin Knox has played a little bit late and shown some, but still we have now. You don't want to be compared to Kevin Knox.
Yes,
but I still buy him. As at the next level, and that's where he's gonna be. He's gonna be at the next level at his next stop. So I think he's still a pure. I love his shot. Still a beautiful shot. Like if you get him off screens and all that, he's gonna hit it. And guess what? He's gonna be playing with a lot better talent at the next level. They're gonna find 100%. Him and put him in the right spots and all that. Have better coaching. Sorry, Dad, but it's just real. Like he's on a really bad team. I just hope it doesn't. Like I've seen people drop them to the 20s, and I'm like, all right, come on. That's like it's not like he's averaging like 4-6 points. Like I can see why Peyton Watson for some people dropping because. Comes in type, and then like he's not having the numbers statistically wise, even though he's played a little better too. But he's still averaging 15 and giving you 7 rebounds. Like, the shooting percentage isn't great, but remember he's the main focus on the team. That's another thing. He is the team.
And the team at times, I was talking with Nathan about this on the last show. There's moments where the team doesn't even want to give him the ball.
Yeah,
I mean that's got to be a tough situation to be in, where like. You understand that you're the best player on the team. Team doesn't care because you're getting special treatment, and obviously you're going to be the focal point of the offense, but these guys want to shine too. So a little bit of contention in that aspect of it. But Chris, the size, he's listed at 6'9", 6'10". He may be bigger than that. I mean, and he's still giving you flashes. And I think where people are messing up, Chris, is that he is the team right now. But he's not going to be in that position like ever. Even if he's drafted to, who's the worst team in the NFL in your eyes right now, Chris?
In the NFL?
Or excuse me, the NBA. Excuse me.
Let's say the NFL. I mean, do you want to bring up the Giants? Come on.
Yes, he might be the best player on the Giants.
Yeah, he might be. Someone can catch the ball. Maybe he can get. But in the NBA right now, you would say what? Detroit. It's pretty bad right now.
Maybe Detroit,
That'd
Houston,
be a great fit,
Orlando.
actually. Put him Cade. That'd be his best teammate he had in a long time.
And that's the thing is, like, if he goes to any NBA team right now, he is not going to be the number one option, flat out. Like, being drafted to any team, he's not going to be the number one option. But right now, he's being evaluated on his performance as a number one option. And I think you have to separate that.
Yes, because I've seen it a lot in draft Twitter, like, oh, he's not a number one option. It's like, okay, well, if you're looking at it that way, then he's not the guy for you. But not everyone is a number one option. Like, you don't, like, just because you're not a number one option doesn't mean you can't be a really good player. Like
Chris Middleton. Hello.
Yeah. Like someone said, oh, what if he's Chris Middleton? I was like, oh, are we like saying Chris Middleton's not a good player?
You mean NBA champion Chris Middleton?
He's an NBA champion. He's hit big shots. Like, this is a guy who's a 50, 40, 90 guy. Like, that's not, if he's Chris Middleton, then you hit a home run.
And then at the 8th pick in the draft, I mean, Chris, if we're just going off your big board today, obviously things can change, but even on mine, I think I have him 7th. So if you draft Chris Middleton with the 7th pick in the NBA draft, you did a daggum good job.
And in a redraft, if you would have, I don't know what draft
he went in the 2nd round.
He went if you do a redraft,
he was traded away from the team that drafted him in Detroit.
He's probably top 5 pick if you had to do a redraft. And whatever draft he was, he's probably top 5. So, like, if that's the player you're getting, okay, that's good. Not everyone could be a number. How many? I just talked about this with Brian on my show, Brian Ruiz and we were like, how many number one options are there really in the NBA? Like, true, like, go-to franchise, there's only a handful, if that. So, like, we keep saying, oh, he's not a number one. He's not going to be a number one option guy. This is why I don't like Patrick Baldwin, but it's like you're basing it off that you think he's going to be number one option. You're not realizing his team's god-awful. It's abysmal. It's not fun to watch them play basketball. That's not a good team.
The camera angles, the quality of the video, the gyms, I mean, again, all due respect, I'm just saying we bring up these things, Chris, because it's relative to all the other guys that we're evaluating in this draft. It's just not as up to that standard.
Yeah, and it's and like, listen, we get why he went there. It sounded good at first.
It's a nice story, man.
It's a nice story, but it may have cost him a few slots. I still think he should be a lottery pick at worst, right? Even if he still struggles because you get him the right coaching, you get him that point guard that can put him in the right spot. I think you could get yourself a hell of a player still. Like, but he's in a bad spot right now, and hopefully once he get to league play, that he just does his dang balls out, and people see that he can. He's still a good player. Like, he played bad against Florida. Okay, guys, let's not. How many guys have played good again in big time games and not panned out? Like, it could go both ways too.
And how many are doing it on a team where they're quite literally the only option? It's not that he's playing on a bad Texas team or a bad. What's
Duke,
another?
If he was on Duke and he was doing this, I'd be like, all right, maybe some concerns because you have the talent and you're getting good shots. When you're getting double, triple teamed, and you are the team, all right, you got to put some perspective into this.
He's the highest recruit in the school's history, right?
They're never gonna get another. They might not get a combined 5-star, like 2 1-stars. They might not even get another combined.
Who knows from that aspect, right? But like, he's the crown jewel of Wisconsin, Milwaukee recruiting. So that has to be factored into.
That might be the last time they get a number one. They might get a top 5 recruit because it's not so high.
Even if the coach is the dad, right? So
even if the coach is dad, sometimes you just gotta tell dad, this sounded good, but like, all right. This ain't working out. You're messing up my money.
who knows? I mean, we said the same thing about LeVar Ball, right? But look at his boys. They're still going strong.
Yeah.
So, all right, Chris, we're coming up against it for the radio segment. So, what I want to do, I want to just drop the list of players that you have before we close out the show. We'll still continue on the podcast because I got some real poignant questions I want to ask you about some of the guys that we have a little bit later. But just for the people who are tuning in to the show here on the Nothing But Net channel on Dash Radio, first off, y'all are the best. Y'all are goats. Y'all are legends. We appreciate y'all tuning in and listening. For the continued discussion that we're going to be having here with Chris, co-host of Draft Capital, president of Off the Ball Network. go subscribe to Draft Capital because we've had a lot of great shows lately. We've had Chuck from Chucking Darts on. We just had Nathan on. We're going to have a continued, dialogue between he and myself where the episodes are going to be posted on Draft Capital and on Draft Deeper where we're going to be comparing big boards. A whole bunch of great stuff coming down the pipe here on Draft Capital. But in order to keep up with it all, you have to listen to us here on the radio show, and you got to go subscribe to the podcast anywhere podcasts are available. Just go look up Draft Capital. You'll see a nice white building with a basketball in front of it. It'll have Chris's name and my name. That's how you know you're in the right place, right? So, Chris, go ahead and let the fine people know where they can find you, your work, and any future projects that you have coming down the pipe.
Yeah, so you can find me Off the Ball Pod. That's where I'm most active on Twitter. Off the Ball Podcast on Instagram, Facebook. Follow the YouTube Off the Ball Network. That's the YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up, some likes.
All the thumbs.
That algorithm, you got to keep liking it so we can get that.
Spotify just implemented a star rating system, so you can now get 5 stars on Spotify and on iTunes. So
so make sure
boys up.
Yeah, so Breaking the Game, get 5 stars. Off the Ball Podcast, get 5 stars. Draft Capital, 5 stars on Spotify and Apple. Do that. Off the Ball Network, obviously, there for all your sports needs. offtheballnetwork.com. Follow us OTB_network on Twitter, all that good stuff. So yeah, you can follow me. I got a show coming out with Brian Ruiz. We're gonna talk about thing Warriors. That's gonna be on Off the Ball Mondays. So check that out. Did a show with Mo Murphy.
Great show. Tune into that one. That was fire.
We talked everything, trades, all that, the craziness in the NBA that's going on. So check that out. So I got a few things. Like I said, continue working on my big board. And all that, and man, just Draft Capital. Can't wait to keep diving into the draft and then trying to find some more guys and see. Trying to find some hidden gems. I love finding hidden gems. Like even on my big board photo, like my image, it's not even like the consensus guys. It's guys that you may not, you might not think would be on someone's image. Guys that I've just really liked throughout the years that I feel like are finally getting that love,
There you go. And so for you, the listeners, we're going to leave you with a little cliffhanger here. Chris's board, I'm just going to read them 1 through 30. It's going to be a lot of names. Just bear with me. But then we're going to get to the fun part of the discussion. Number 1, Paulo Banchero. Number 2, Jabari Smith Jr. Number 3, Jaden Ivey. Number 4, Chet Holmgren. Number 5, Jalen Duran. Number 6, Jaden Hardy. Number 7, Nikola Jovic. Number 8, Patrick Baldwin Jr. Number 9, Bennett Mathurin. Number 10, Kendall Brown. Number 11, AJ Griffin. 12th, Ty Washington. 13th, Kennedy Chandler. 14th, Keegan Murray. 15th, Caleb Houston. 16th, Hugo Basson. 17th, JD Davison. 18th, Roko Perkinson. 19, Dyson Daniels. 20, Usman Jang. 21, Jan Montero. 22, Peyton Watson. 23, Jordan Hall. 24, Julian Champagny. 25, Bryce McGowan's. 26, Mark Williams. 27, Marchon Beauchamp. 28, Wendell Moore Jr. 29, Trevor Keels. And then 30th, Max Christie. That's the 30. If you want to listen to the continued breakdown of these guys, go follow the aforementioned podcast, Draft Capital. A whole bunch of great content coming up after that. But for Chris, for myself, for the Off the Ball Network, for the fine folks here on the Nothing But Net channel on Dash Radio, for our fine folks over at Built Bar and BetUS, this has been Draft Capital. We'll catch up with y'all next time. Much love, everybody. All right, so for everyone coming over from the Nothing But Net channel on Dash Radio, tuning in to Draft Capital, thank you all so much for giving us a listen. Before we even get into this, we want to remind you all, go like, share, subscribe, rate, and review anywhere that you're getting this podcast. Makes all the difference in the world. There's like 5-star rating systems everywhere, so we don't even have to differentiate anymore. It's awesome. Go look at us on the Off the Ball YouTube channel if you want to see our beautiful faces. I'm here with regular co-host Chris LeBron. Chris, again, it's awesome that you're back on the show, man. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. The man is back. He's like the University of Texas. He's back, right?
No,
Back. No. Okay, he's back for real.
I'm thinking Michigan back.
Michigan back. He's Kevin Durant back.
Kevin Durant back? Yeah, Kevin Durant.
Okay,
back.
we'll do Kevin Durant back. All right, so Chris, we left off. We only got to 8 players, right? We're not going to give an in-depth breakdown for all 30. I just got some guys I want to ask you about. But we'll round out the top 10 with some good discussion here. Because number 9, oh my goodness, Benedict Mathurin blowing up. This was a guy, for whatever reason, Chris, I was just like, I don't want this guy to be good this season. That makes me a terrible human being, right? And it's not that I didn't want him to be good, but I wasn't buying the return of him coming back and being potentially one of the best players in this draft. I was just like, he doesn't have enough creation. He does now. He doesn't have enough defense. He does now. He just looks so much better as a sophomore this year, man. And so glad that he's being successful. Even as I'm updating my board, he's creeping up to that top 10 level. Chris, you already have him in your top 10, number 9. I know that people have him even higher than that. Arizona University is just killing it lately. They're super deep. Talk to me about Benedict, man. What are you liking about him?
He was someone before the season start that I was on my okay. I need to intriguing. Mm-hmm. Everything obviously just looking at his profile, the size, 6'7", 6'8", 220, length. Okay. Someone you gotta keep on, on my watch list. And then the 3-game stretch, I think was it the last Illinois, Wyoming, and I forgot the other game. Let me look up quick. Oregon State.
Oregon State.
And especially the Illinois game, because that was the big game. Man, he looked so impressive, and just like he everything on all phases. Like he's and that was like, okay, all right, I'm starting to buy it. Like, and he's just there's another guy, freshman jump, sophomore, like bought in himself and is made himself right now potentially a top 10 pick, could be higher, who knows. But there's so much to like about him, and like I said, he was intriguing before this, and now he's put some monster games, efficient. He's climbing up, and that's why he's been a hot name. He's probably the hottest name outside of the consensus big names we know. But there's those guys after like those
that next level.
Names, we know right? The Paulos, the Chats, and Jabari.
Jabari blew up the calculus, right? Yeah. Like Jabari just is like, excuse
tier, me. There's that next tier, especially wings. There's those wings that like kind of bunched up, and it's just like, all right, just a matter of which flavor you like, right? Which flavor ice cream you want. That's the type of with all these wings, right?
More of a sherbet guy myself,
Yeah,
so.
I like cookies and cream. I'm a cookies and cream kind of guy. Cookies and cream kind of guy.
So which one is Benedict Mathurin more cookies and cream, or is he more sherbet?
There. I think he I'm not a big sherbet guy. Nothing against it. It's solid for me. But I think he's a cookies and cream guy. I think he's been good. Like he's been really good.
Patrick Baldwin Jr. is Rocky Road ice cream.
He's Rocky Road, and that's not because of him. It's because of the factory's messing it up. They're messing it up. They're ruining the production of that 3-game stretch. It was what's for me that did it for me. Like he just absolutely took over. It was a menace. And he just
looks so clean, dude. He just looks NBA.
Smooth athlete, He looks NBA, and that's the
he runs fast. He jumps high. He shoots pretty. Like Chris. Everybody told me that he wasn't going to be this good because he couldn't create. And there's even it's to a smaller degree now, but there's still people who are still convinced that he doesn't have creation. I'm telling you. That Oregon State film I'm watching, like, okay, he's dribbling. Okay, he's pick and roll operating. Okay, he's passing a little bit. Okay, he's step back shooting. Like, there's really not a lot of holes to poke at in his game. But the listed height, and I think what the actual height is, it might be a little smaller. Like he's listed 6'7", 6'6". There's people saying that he might be 6'3", 6'4", which maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's not. Bradley Beal is one of those guys where he's listed a little bit bigger than what he actually looks like on the
Bradley
floor.
Beal is listed like 6'6", but he's like 6'4".
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, as long as this guy knows how to play basketball, which it looks like he does, then that's whatever. And Chris, like I said, you have him 9th. I believe I have him 11th currently. Just kind of spoiler alert for my 2.0. But I understand the infatuation with Benedict Mathurin. there's potential that he climbs for both of us, right?
Yeah.
So
He just got a bag too. It's simple. Like he's
oh
got a
man,
bag on offense. Like it's just that like I see that I'm like, okay, that's translatable to the next league. Like he's got that fake. He's got everything. He's got everything you want. Like
his moves have moves, you know.
yeah, he's got moves. It's simple. He just got a bag. He's got the bag, and to me, sometimes it's just simple. Just
Yeah,
got the bag.
sometimes
He's got
dudes just know how to play basketball, you know.
yeah, and he's got that first step. He said got the jab. I think he's got that jab move, boom, and then gets to the basket. That those things I like.
He
to
just
see from him.
floats too, man. Like his
Yeah,
jumper,
it's
he just
simple.
floats.
And he got the defense potential two-way type of player. Like those are
Mhm.
guys you gotta like. Yeah, he's definitely been a riser.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your number 10. And now this is where people are going to throw rocks at you, Chris, because this is like the draft Twitter darling. Like no
Yeah.
one is not supposed to have him this low. So you having him all the way down to 10th is just like the
Yeah,
most
I think
disrespectful thing.
he's a bust. He's a bust.
Yeah. The most disrespectful thing
He's
I've
a,
ever heard of. Kendall Brown. Now, Chris, everybody knows why he's so good right now, right? But you have him 10th. I'm curious, and I think I might know. We didn't talk about this at all. Like I found out about your board like maybe an hour or two beforehand of doing the show, and we didn't talk about any of these guys at all. So, right, I'm learning as the listeners are really. But I think Kendall Brown, the one question that I had for him, I think might be the question for you, and I'm curious. I just want to see: is it because he is not a creator for himself, or at least isn't showing it at Baylor? Because a lot of what he's doing like on the offensive end, so much is off ball created. It's not really himself doing it, right? And
yeah.
that's okay. That's not to say that he's a bad player. Like he's very intelligent, really good, and defensively, oh my goodness, and he jumps
Oh
out of the
yeah.
gym. I mean, there's really a lot to like about him. But I'm curious is the fact that he is not, at least Baylor isn't affording him the opportunity, right, to create for himself. Is that why you have him at 10 right now, as opposed to like maybe top 7, top 5?
Yeah, it's that creation. And someone forgot I was reading, and this is a really good comp. Gerald Green.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, you got a guy who's a super athlete. Like Gerald Green was kissing cupcakes off top of rim, and this is what Kendall. I mean, I forgot what game I was watching. It felt like his head is above the rim. Like
Yeah.
he is a top percentile type of athlete. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's an
101st percentile in jumping.
yeah,
right?
whatever, 2000%. He is the percent.
Yes.
It's and I think that's so intriguing with it. But you still need to see more like of that, because he doesn't really shoot. He's not shooting from the perimeter, so you want to see, him
Not on a high clip, right?
not,
Like
not on
the
a high
percentage
clip.
is there, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
but
on high volume.
he's not. I mean, it's not on barely any volume. So like you want to see that, but like I think the intriguingness of just the fact that he's what 6'8", 6'9", and at that two-way potential also too, like to be able to do that, like but he's got got to see more of the shooting. Gotta if that's like the swing thing for him. If he's one of those guys, if he gets the swing and he becomes that he could be an all-star. Like
one bona fide attribute in his game that just hits really well. Like he could be that guy that's where it's like, okay, he should have been top 3, at the end of the day, really, based off of his development curve and all that, right? But Kendall Brown being 10th, was curious as to why you had that. So I'm going to skip some names now so we don't keep you here all night, Chris. But number 11th, you had AJ Griffin. I think I understand why, right? It's just that we hadn't seen much, and he's coming off of injury, right? Ty Washington, Kennedy Chandler, Keegan Murray's 14th. I want to stop here and ask you about Keegan Murray. Statistical darling. I think he has like an 80 PER, which is stupid. He's
crazy.
Obviously that I'm tongue in cheek, but no kidding. He is around 50 PER. Like that's dead serious, and that should never be a thing. But he's playing the kind of the 4-5, little bit of a 3 built in there somewhere, maybe. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Paul Millsap, and I haven't really heard that comparison thrown out there, but he gives me Paul Millsap vibes because he can score at multiple levels. He didn't really flash that Louisiana Tech, for all those who didn't know that that's where Paul Millsap played college basketball. But Keegan Murray, he's does a lot of his damage on the inside,
Mhm.
flashes some potential on the outside. The percentages aren't really there. Um, Rebounds well, plays really good defense, like steal rate, block rate, all that's there. He's asked to be a number one option for Iowa after losing, one of the players of the year last season, right, in Luka Garza, and they lost one of the best shooters in the draft last season in Joe Weiskamp. So Murray is taking on this large role. He's got all the stats that anybody could ever want in a player. You have him 14th at that's the last lottery pick. What's up with Keegan Murray, man? Why are you so high on him?
I just think he's just smooth. He's just smooth
Mm-hmm.
as butter. Like just everything about him is just smooth. And I just know he's not stressing. He just plays the game nice and calm,
Mm-hmm.
just smooth and just like crazy efficient right now. Like, dude, through the roof. Like I don't know. Just every time I watch him, it feels like he's just comfortable, just playing the game, and it's just everything's coming to him. Doesn't get too worked up. Just plays the game. It's just tough, and it's just guys the size 6'8", 220 around there. Another sophomore that's taking that jump from
Yeah.
freshman, and that's going to be a trend you see a lot with me is those guys who that freshman to sophomore year, guys who take that jump and improve. Like because to me that shows you could still just because you're a sophomore,
100%.
like,
Yeah.
some people hate taking, if you're not a freshman, you can't improve, you can't get better. He's done that, yeah, I mean, just someone that's just, I know the last few games, maybe a little bit struggle, but it's still someone
Against
that
better competition too.
better
Let's not
competition. So
forget
maybe,
that.
yeah. So I think the Iowa State game didn't have the best game, but still someone I still like a lot. I think he's definitely going to be he's a lottery pick for me, and just smooth. That's just my thing. He's just smooth. Like everything is smooth, and that's what I like about him. No, may not be a an all-star type player, but he's just going to be a nice fit, complementary piece to a team, and help him out. So that's what I like about him.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like a video game player out there right now, right?
Yeah.
He's literally, average at everything, good at so much, like
Yes.
that.
Just a good player,
He's a
Samuels.
basketball
Yeah,
player.
yeah. Like there's just few guys in this class that just they're never going to be all-star level type players or whatever, but they're just good. They're good at everything, and you just need those guys in your team. And he's one of those glue pieces. I think that can help a team out a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, playing at a very valuable position, being able to do that's huge, right? So you have
Hmm.
Caleb Houston 15th. We could spend a whole episode, I think, talking about Caleb Houston and the talent level and the role that he's asked and the efficiency. And now it's starting to come around a little bit more. Like there's so much to Caleb Houston. We don't have enough time in the day to give all these players the adequate amount of attention, right? For talking about 30 players. So we'll move on from Caleb, but I think that we both agree that there's a lot that he can still prove and he could rock it
Oh
up,
yeah, of
right? He
course.
could rock it right up your board.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Um, Hugo Besson, I want to spend, 30 minutes talking about Hugo Besson, but I'll just ask you real quick. I know that you said that you loved him earlier. You have him around 16. That's roughly around why I have him. I have him on the tail end of the lottery right now. What's up with Hugo, man? Why you like him?
He's just one of those guys that we talked about him a few episodes ago, and just someone that we had want to see more of, and like he's been good his last few games. He's been really good, and just someone that to me is going to translate to the next level. His style play
Mm-hmm.
to me fits the next level, and just a tough, hard nosed player. Just a lot to like about him, and like I said, guy is getting in his groove,
Yeah.
right? Guy getting in his groove, and then we're like it's kind of been the base of the show. Like we're seeing guys get in their grooves. A lot of these prospects are getting in their groove. Jovic, Schultes, and a lot of the international guys are starting to get in. Lumen Dieng, guys are getting in their groove, starting to
Yeah.
feel comfortable and all that. And yeah, he's what is he averaging? 19, 20.
It's he
It's kind of weird trying to figure out international and all that, but like he's been hoping lately. It's simple. He's been hoping.
dropping 20-point games like
Yeah,
it's nothing. And he did
he's
that in France. Now he's doing it in the NBL. He's a little bit older. I think that I think he'll be close to 21, if not 21,
oh
by the
man,
time
never
the draft
mind. I have
rolls
to take
around.
him off the
Yeah,
board. Never
you got to
mind.
knock him way out
No,
of your
no,
first
no.
round. He's a second round player at
Yeah,
best.
yeah.
But
He'll be 21 Bad draft next year.
He
No.
can buy his own alcohol when he's
Yeah,
drafted. That's a bad
I
thing.
don't want guys that can buy alcohol by the time I want them. But he's been open. Like
Pick and roll operator, man.
pick
That's
and
very
roll.
valuable.
Yep, and just he's been playing good basketball. So another guy that I've seen a lot more people talk about Hugo. I know you've been talking about him, but you see more people
I've
getting
been a
on the
day
Hugo
one
train.
since day one, bro.
Exactly.
Love Hugo.
Yeah. So he's definitely someone that's rising, and like I said, a lot to like about him, and maybe not so much team success, but hey, he's definitely been doing his part.
Yeah, for sure, man. And one other thing to add, Chris, is that we thought coming into the season that he was 6'3". He may still be, but New Zealand is listing him at 6'5". And if he is 6'5" at that point guard position, it almost adds like a whole nother element of intrigue to his game, because then you
I've
start
seen
talking about
6'1".
okay, so if he's 6'1", that completely
I'm on.
extinguishes what I was
I
about to
just checked
say.
looking on Pro Ballers, and they have him listed as 6'1".
Okay, I've seen him listed at 6'3". I know that the NBL and games are listing him at 6'5", right? So
Hey, go with the whatever. I'm sure he's cool with the 6'5".
the thing is that if you're a point guard and 6'5" is like a magic number, Chris, because then you can start talking about positional versatility, right? The ability to slide over and let somebody else run point two.
You could be a combo guard at 6'5".
You're a combo guard, right? That opens up a whole new world of possibilities. That magic number is 6'5", right? But we'll push on here. JD Davison out of Alabama, like he's just a superhuman athlete. There's just nothing else you could say about him.
He was a big part of why they beat who they beat Gonzaga.
Yeah, I mean,
with that
that was
guard
a big deal.
rotation. Yeah. Those guards really did a number on Gonzaga, especially getting to the basket. And you would think with Chet, you don't really think about getting, but they were attacking.
Yeah, I mean, they're all freaky athletes. So that's what the SEC recruits in almost every sport that they're in. Like you have to, I wonder what their 40 time is for the Alabama basketball team, because those dudes, they can boogie, right?
They start Alabama low key trying. The basketball team is slow. I don't know if you ever get to that Bama football level, but they're not bad. They maybe have one of the best basketball football programs in the country.
And that's actually that's a lot. There's a lot to that, right? I mean, reminisce of the days of Florida, right, when they had a really good football and basketball
they
team.
won national championships the same year. Yeah.
That's insane. Like that almost never happens, right? So we'll move on here. Number 18, Roko Perkinson, another international guy that we were both high on. Now, Chris, do you believe in the athleticism at the European level of play transitioning, successfully over at that next level, or do you think he's gonna not be able to bully his way as much in the NBA?
He definitely won't be able to bully his way the way you could do it at overseas, obviously at this. But I still think he was a guy we've seen in the draft cycle before, right?
Yeah. People were clamoring lottery last year.
Yeah, and you hear some people were saying had him in the 20s, second round last year, and maybe he heard that he was going to be a second round pick and was like, I'm just going to go back, take my name out and bet on. So, and he it looks like he might have made the right decision, come out, because I think he solidified himself as a first round pick at worst, but he's not gonna be able to bully his way, but there's still he's got some sneaky athleticism, and there's things to like about him.
He's very aggressive with the ball.
Yeah, he's aggressive with it, and there's things he his ability to get to the basket and all that.
Want the shot to be a little bit more consistent, right? Like that's really where the struggle was last season, and opening up the year, he had some really bad shooting performances, but he's had some good ones in there too, sprinkled in.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of these, even with Jovic, right? It's just the consistency with the outside game. They get that. That's another swing, right? He gets that with the shooting, the perimeter shooting. Then he's going to be solid, and he could be a lottery pick. So continues to improve. I think he has the size. What is he?
He's like got to be 240, 6'9", yeah, like 230, 240.
Yeah. So if he, use that if you learn how to use that physicality at the next level, knowing you just can't just run through, because there's LeBron James, you're getting guarded by PJ Tucker. Yeah, there's a lot of big dudes. So
Draymond Green will truck him.
Yeah, but his playmaking ability is good. There's the things that I buy.
Rebounder.
Yeah, solid rebounder and all that. So there's things you could buy at the next level. But yeah, just get the perimeter shooting down, and I think he's solid. He could even be top 20 pick.
Yep. So we'll go ahead. I'm gonna go through a couple of these guys. Right. Dyson Daniel 19, Usman Jang 20, Jan Montero 21. Good luck evaluating overtime elite play. Like
Yeah, man, it's so
I'm
it's
stuck.
so
I don't
tough.
know how
I
good he
just
is.
simply just look at the talent, and I like the talent a lot. I like burst and all that, but it's like it's hard to figure out the overtime stuff because they're playing against 16-year
Literally
olds.
high school
Playing
opponents.
against because it's like a school essentially. It's
It's an
essentially
academy
with an
almost.
academy. Like I read someone, forgot who wrote an article about the whole overtime and the process and how they go about it. It's an academy. It's like a prep school,
Yeah.
but you're still playing against young kids, so it's just hard to evaluate. But just the talent alone with Montero to me is top 25. So
I have him in there
maybe
too.
I have him a little bit higher than maybe I should, but just
I think
based
you're
off.
right at that kind of that median average where,
Yeah,
there's some folks that are like, no, I've watched him play because he did play professional basketball overseas, right?
yeah.
And then he comes so overseas, he was still putting up really good
He
performances.
did play the Dominican Republic, right? Did he?
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean,
So
he's he's a pro level athlete internationally. So there's something there, right? And
yeah,
what we're
yeah.
seeing, he's the big fish in this small pond, but he's playing like the big fish in the small pond, right? It's not like if he was putting up, not to keep knocking Patrick Ballmer Jr. down because, it's different. He's the big fish in a small pond surrounded by a big body of water, if that makes sense, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
there's there's no other level of competition that Jan Montero is going to be playing against. Even if his teammates are bad, he's playing against lesser talent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to look good, and he does. So thank goodness he's playing well right now for the overtime elite. If he was playing bad, that would look poorly. But that further emphasizes, what we did see in his international level of play. It looks like that's checking out. And anytime that he's been around, in scrimmages or, under 19 games or things like that, he's looked good in those matchups too. So there's a little bit to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the notion that he is a first round talent based even outside of the overtime elite play, I guess is what I'm getting at here, Chris. So 22nd, you had Peyton Watson. Let's talk about 23 and 24 because these, I think, are the guys where people are going to look at and be like, okay, I understand it. Maybe you have them a little bit higher than others, but it's not like they're bad players, right? To me, I have both of these guys as early seconds. So I understand that between 23 and 24 going all the way to maybe like 50, there's not a lot of separation in the talent level of these guys. Like this is where the margins are a little bit slimmer. And this goes back to your ice cream, analogy earlier. What's your favorite flavor, right? So let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about Jordan Hall, coming out of St. Joseph's, right? Playing for
St.
the Red
Joe.
Hawks there. So, up in that region that you beat your chest from, Chris. Talk to me about Jordan Hall as a dual forward. What do you like about him?
Man, what's not liked about not to like about him? Like he's just a little does everything really good. Like I love the playmaker. Like he's someone that I thought could maybe creep around and maybe be a top 40 pick last year, right?
Mm,
I was gonna have him on my show too. Right before he pulled out, I was gonna plan on having him on the pod. Just I just like his game. Had some shooting inconsistencies early on this year, but he's definitely picked up in the last
yeah,
5 games. He's definitely come on of late. I think even in the Nova game where they lost, had a solid game, but he's been good of late, and he's really come on of late. But just everything like that, 6'8" wing, playmaking ability has that, 3-level potential. I just like a lot. He's been on my radar for like the last year plus,
mm-hmm.
and just a super intriguing prospect that I think, I've seen more people get on the Jordan Hall, train, and
Yep,
it's definitely good to see that because he's good at a little bit good. He's good at everything, good, solid 3-point shooter, maybe got to work on some of the mid-range stuff and all that, but
sure.
overall get into basket, but overall, just everything. I love his playmaking ability, just a solid all around player. And maybe I have him too high, but I just love his game.
It's 1.0. You can change your mind, right,
Yeah,
Chris?
yeah, I can always change my mind and all that. But another guy
Or
who's
you could just be the genius that's out in front of everybody right
yeah,
now. Maybe he climbs up
and
everybody
there's
else's board.
another like the kind of theme like we talk about freshman and sophomore year, the jump. He's made that jump already. I mean, he went last year of 10 a game, averaging almost close to 18, I think, this year or whatever. Like, so just the improvements that he's made, and like I said, he's coming on a late, kind of slow start early on, definitely picking up of late, and I think we're going to see more of him, and definitely someone that more people are going to really, really like his game because just smooth.
Yeah.
Another guy who's smooth, like Keegan Murray, just smooth. It's very
When you can
smooth.
do what he does at the position that he plays with the frame that he has,
Mhm.
it's really hard to deny that talent, Chris. And
Exactly.
I can respect you having the bigger onions than me right now, man, having him already in your top
Yeah,
30.
like and look, good rebounder, solid playmaker. Like I think he's averaging. Let me get his numbers right here. 17.6 rebounds, 6 assists.
It's
Just good at everything. May not be an elite scorer, may not be elite facility, just good at everything.
and shout out to Rashard Phillips, RP3. He's the Yoda. He's amazing. And I did a video breakdown. I tagged him in it because I was like, even if you don't buy into all the positions that RP3 puts out there, to me, dual forward is truth. And
Oh, he's the definition of a dual forward. Yeah,
because a dual forward is essentially the engine of your team, and that's exactly what Hall does for in St. Joseph. It's one of these Saint whatever schools, St. Joe, St. John, Saint. There's a whole bunch of schools up there that have all those names, right? But what Jordan Hall does for St. Joseph, it's phenomenal, and I understand the appeal of why you have him there.
Division, like everything. There's just like I said, just smooth, man. Dual forward, just great vision, everything. Like I said, a smooth player that just knows how to play the game, knows how to put guys in the right spots. And to me, like just more people are going to get to know him as we get on with the college season.
And when he gets up to that next level, if you snag him and he, as a role player, he can do everything well. That's what you want from a role player, right? He's not going to come and be Luka Doncic necessarily, but maybe on the high end, he's an Anderson out of Memphis, right?
You just literally took the name out of him. I was trying to think of his name.
Kyle Anderson, right?
Kyle Anderson. Hey, he's had a nice career in the league. Everyone thinks that he's not because he's not a super athlete.
Slow-mo, right? Yeah.
Slow-mo, but hey, he's had a nice career in the NBA. And if that's Jordan Hall, that's solid right there. You're getting yourself a solid player. Maybe back in the first, second round. So
who knows, man? But let's get into Julian Champagnie, St. John's, right? Am I getting that right? The school.
John, yep.
St. John's. So St. Joseph, St. John, St. Jose.
Yeah, we got a lot of Saints. Saints.
Right.
Joseph,
so
we got a bunch of these schools in the tri-state area.
There you go. So St. Julian Champagnie here, 24 overall, big body. We talked about him when we had our friend, Albert on the podcast. He was the guy that he's one of these hoopers, right? Like he comes into the gym with his backpack still on. The team is running a scrimmage. He just runs up. It's like, hey, let me see the rock real quick, so he can hit a corner three and go right back to doing whatever he was doing before the team was practicing. Right. Just the ultimate consummate hooper. The frame is there. The body is there.
Sure.
You have him at 24. I have him as an early second. Kind of spoiler alert again. Why do you have him where you do?
He's just one of those guys I just really like. And just simple, like another guy sort of with Jordan Hall that I've been like the last year or so just been on it. And he's another guy who was in the draft cycle last year, thought about maybe coming out. I think he made the right move. Made the right move because I think maybe would have been maybe a back end second round pick.
I mean, his twin brother came out and was, went to Toronto.
Toronto was in a good spot and is in a very good spot. It's going to be a nice pro in this league. I think Julian has a little bit more in his bag offensively. And then his brother's more kind of defense oriented. But so Julian, that's 6'8" size. I believe he's born in Staten Island. I lived in Staten Island for 20 years. So there's also the fact that New York thing.
You got that, brotherhood,
You get that brotherhood, right? And all that, St. John's and all that. So there's just a lot to like about him. I like his, just another guy who's just smooth athlete. Scoring, I love his scoring. 3-level scoring potential is something I could definitely see, and all that, the size and all that. Not a crazy athlete, but that's okay. I just like his scoring ability. Missed the game today against Pitt, against his brother's former school.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely could have used him. He was out for COVID, but yeah, just I just like him.
Who
It's just
isn't out
simple.
for COVID right now?
Yeah, unfortunately, he's. But what's crazy? Without being a super athlete, he's still giving you buckets.
Some people just they make up for that, quote unquote lack of athleticism with tremendous feel and shot making ability, and
Yeah.
he's one of those guys, right?
He just has that midi range, got that mid range, down point, and like I said, he's not a crazy athlete, but still gets the job done. Just very creative with how he gets to the basket, how he creates off the mid range and all that. So just a solid player, man. Just someone I really like a lot, that I think could be definitely a productive player. Pick and pop guy. There's so much you could do. You don't have to be super athlete. And I think we're gonna see a lot of these, like Kendall, like we'll talk about Kendall, like super freak athlete. We got to see if everything else translate, because it's just not about being a super. Like, I think we've learned from especially the last few years, that it's not just about the athleticism. Got to be able to have all the other aspects of playing basketball. Obviously that helps.
Eventually, the athleticism catches up, right? Like the athleticism around you catches up, and then that's where that tremendous skill comes in.
Yes, and listen, I remember seeing that with Gerald Green. Remember Gerald Green come out, and this is obviously he came out 2005.
He came out of high school, if I'm
he
not
came out
mistaken.
of high school, and he was jumping through the gym, but he was out of the league for a little bit. Because he didn't have anything, and now he came back, wanted to working on the game. Actually became a solid,
really good 3-point shooter. Yeah.
So I think don't try not to fall in love with the athleticism, even though and not saying Julian is, but
and not to say that Kendall Brown is just
and not to say
athlete, right?
Yeah, not to say that too, but just because a guy isn't a super athlete doesn't mean, and he's a wing, that people might be like, well, he's a wing. He should need to be, have a certain, athleticism and all that. No, there's a lot of ways to get a bucket, and 100%. It doesn't have to be, the prettiest, but he does it in his way, and it just I just love watching him play ball.
Yeah, he's an intriguing prospect, no doubt about it. So we'll go down the rest here. I got one more player that I want to get, kind of an in-depth analysis on, Chris. So 25, we got Bryce McGowan's. 26, we got, a Dookie Mark Williams. 27 to the G League's Marjan Beauchamp, 29 Trevor Kills, and then 30th we have Max Christie. If you were listening to me count, we skipped 28 Wendell Moore Jr. This is the last guy I want to talk to you about. Freshman season, we wanted to see something, and it wasn't there. Sophomore season, we're like, okay, maybe he's like what we're seeing in this class, Chris. Maybe we're like, okay, didn't really show it his freshman year. Maybe he comes back sophomore season. Let's see what happens. Did a little bit better. Still not what everyone was expecting. He was one of these guys as a freshman, Chris, that was supposed to be lottery level talent. This year, he waits until there's like 5 other guys that are vying to be drafted in this first round. And then he's like, okay, let me make a name for myself. My name is Wendell Moore Jr. Here I am, world, love me. And that's what he's doing now, right, Chris?
It's obviously, I if you didn't know by now, I am a Duke Blue Devil fan. So I've watched a lot of, especially his freshman and his sophomore year. Freshman year was just I don't know what happened. Like it wasn't. And then last year, I'm not going to put too much on last year. COVID,
weird.
It was a weird. There's no Cam and like you go to Duke because you want the Cam and crazes and all that. So
a lot of really like strong lineages of good basketball programs were not that last season, right?
Exactly. So, like Kentucky wasn't the same,
Kansas,
a lot of schools that are usually, battling to get to the tournament just wasn't that good. So I won't get too much slack, but it's like seeing a whole different type of player. Because if you're basing, listen, and I think scouts are going to trying to decipher, okay, what happened? Why did he struggle so much as a freshman and sophomore year? You want to combine those as one. And then what is why is he having so much success as a junior? Because going into it, you were like, okay, they got AJ Griffin, they got Paulo.
Most talented, probably Duke team on paper within his tenure there, right?
Yeah,
Would you say that?
because I would say last year I thought, okay, if there's a year if he's gonna break out, it's last year. I felt like he would have more of an opportunity to break out, and that wasn't the case. And like I said, COVID and all that, blah blah. But still, I still felt like he was gonna break out last year, and it didn't happen. And I was like, maybe it doesn't happen. And listen, Duke have had some guys like they got Joey Baker, who's a 5-star, who just hasn't panned out. Like he's just a guy on the
Yeah.
team. Like it happens. They've had guys who are just
Yeah,
guys.
being a 5-star at Duke doesn't automatically equal success, right?
Exactly. So like I thought, man, maybe he's just a guy. Maybe he's just gonna be like a guy who comes off the bench and just gives us solid minutes, and that's it. This year, it's like, whoa, like wow, I didn't 17 a game. Like you averaging what 6 assists, like six, like he's he went from early on. Okay,
Stupid
I'm like,
efficient too.
stupid efficient, Steven. Like I'm like, whoa, what do we see? Like it's crazy the jump. Like it's not just like a little jump and all that, and like, oh well, he's not taking that. No, it's off some solid numbers, attempts, and it's like the efficiency, the ball handling, it's how he's working in pick and rolls as a ball. Like it's if you check all the synergy numbers, all you see is excellent off pick and rolls. Excellent, all the ball handling stuff is excellent. It's good, excellent, very good.
Chris,
It's like,
just to
crazy.
pick up from there, right? Nathan Grubel just had him on the show. He's done a lot of work lately with Chad Ford, right? And I listened to that episode, and what I found interesting in listening to Nathan's show with Chad is that scouts are already asking, can Wendell Moore be a primary creator?
Yes,
Like
and
he's going from disappointing freshman and sophomore to now it's like, what else can he do now? And he's giving Chris, he's just a late bloomer, is really like what it comes down to me is like sometimes the development curve, sometimes striking that that oil from the field, it just takes a little bit longer, right? Maybe you're in the wrong spot, and that's what I think it is with Wendell Moore. It's like, and Chris, he's a junior now, but he's only 20. We talked about that a little bit before the show within the before the show, right, where we're talking and getting to get comfortable with the show and just quick, hey, how's it going, and all that. We talked about that, right? Is that Wendell Moore Jr. He's 20 years old as a junior.
Yeah, he's older. He's younger than some freshmen, and he's in the third year of college. Like he's one of the guys that I've really dove in deep to because it's so intriguing to see guys who have struggled mightily, right, their first couple of years, and you're just like you knew this. There's more to it. Like he's better than what we've seen, and he's been a disappointment, right? I thought going when he came to Duke, he was going to be a guy who could score because that's what he
Patrick Baldwin Jr. might have took his spot out of the rotation.
Yeah. And it's like, but I feel like he finally just got it. And listen, guys get it at different points of their careers, right? Some people get it right away. Some people get it takes year 2, sophomore, right? We've seen guys, and for him, it took his junior year to finally get it, and he's got it. And it's just like the turnover numbers too, like. He was averaging more turnovers per game in his freshman and sophomore year than assists.
Yeah.
And this year he has the ball in his hand way more.
Mm-hmm.
And he's less than, I think, 1.8 turnovers per game and averaging almost 6 assists a game. So he has the ball in his hand. So you expect more turnover, right? Maybe 3 turnovers a game. No, he's averaging less than 1.8. He had more turnovers per game with the ball on his hand, way less in his freshman and sophomore year than he does now when he's essentially being a primary ball handler a lot of the times, creating,
it's crazy.
He's one of the most intriguing guys because we don't see this a lot where guys.
How do you evaluate what we're seeing now?
And that's the thing is, and maybe, I'm going to ask you this. How do you evaluate it? Because you just can't take away what happened as a freshman and stuff. You just can't be like, oh, it doesn't.
Throw it out, right?
You can't just throw it out because that is a part of the evaluation, and that's what people are going to try to figure out is with him is, all right, freshman, sophomore year, what the hell was that? Like, why? Why was that? And how do you make that big of a jump where you're crazy efficient, scoring hard, and you're a primary ball handler, and you're you're through the roof pick and roll, you're a monster. Your mid-range game, you're one of the best mid-range players. Like, why? So now it's trying to figure out why.
Right?
Yeah, why now? Now, is this something that we're going to see a continuation of? Or you just hit your peak, you're just hitting it at the right spot, or is this just like, he's going to be one of those players that you're going to have to try to figure out, okay, freshman, sophomore year tape. Okay. Because you have to watch the tape and be like, okay,
You have to, yeah.
what was happening there? Was it just matter of roster control? Because those the last two Duke seasons
hadn't been pretty.
Not the best of roster construction by Coach K.
Not
He's
up to normal Duke standards, right? Yeah.
So, and maybe just this year, just better players around him, just a better system, and just finally get. So now he's going to be one that it's going to be intriguing to figure out how they figure him out during the process. Because to me, Chris, I think he's first round pick. Obviously, I think right now he's playing like a first round pick.
So, Chris, in my 1.0, I released mine about 2 weeks ago, right? And that's when we're starting to see those flashes. About 2 weeks ago, it was like, whoa, okay,
yeah.
This is different. This is not who you're supposed to be, Wendell Moore Jr. And I had him as an early second because it's like I have to wait and see how real this is. And Chris, you released yours, within the past couple of days, so you had the benefit of seeing a little bit more longer sample size than me. So you're more confident in your assessment today than I was 2 weeks ago. But even still, it was enough for me to put him as an early second, just so I can be like, okay, I want to believe what I'm seeing. How real is that?
Which I'm fine with if that's the case, because trying to buy, okay, is this real? Or is just like,
this isn't who you said you were going to be right now, Wendell Moore, this season, right? So I had him as an early second because it's like, I want to buy it, but how real is it? I could tell you on my 2.0, he's going to be within my top 30. But Chris, you asked me, like, how do you evaluate this? Because you can't just throw out the previous 2 seasons. I think the perfect counter to that argument is that, well, you throw it out or you don't throw it out, but why don't you ask me about what he was supposed to be coming into college? And he was supposed to be a freshman phenom. He was supposed to be a one and done guy to be in the lottery pick, right? So obviously there was something in that talent that was there. Maybe it was the roster composition. And then from that conversation, maybe it turns back to, is he as good as what he's showing now? Because is he benefiting playing alongside? Listen, Chris, Duke might have 5 guys get selected in the first round. And now, how realistic is that to say that those are really 5 of the best, top 30 players in all of college basketball? That's really tricky, question or concept to dance around, because maybe they are, maybe they aren't. How much do they benefit from playing alongside one of another? I think what we're seeing with Wendell Moore, though, it will translate well because of the positional versatility, the efficiency that we're seeing. He is today who we thought he was going to be a couple seasons ago. Sometimes that development is just a little bit more delayed, but even still, he's still only 20, Chris. So it's not like he's 23 as a senior and, at Oregon. He doesn't fit that typical bill that we see here the past couple seasons at Oregon. He's a young junior at 20 years old who was supposed to be this good, and now he's actualizing that potential.
Yeah, and you could also look at it his first year at Duke. He's playing with, some high marquee players. I think that's RJ, Zion, and
wasn't that the year before?
Or was it? I could be getting my years wrong.
We are getting older, Chris. Yeah, I think it was the year after those.
Was that the year after? So I'm thinking
we'll have to go back. We're talking about this season though, Chris.
But I'm just trying to see, because I'm trying to figure out what. Like, I forgot who was on the team his freshman. I'm trying to see who was his freshman class. We'll have to look it up. But they're gonna go back and be like, okay, why were the struggles? Okay, you get it, freshman. Some freshmen hit. We're seeing it even this year, right? Seeing Peyton Watson. We're seeing Caleb Houston go through their struggles, right? But you expect to see that jump, a little bit of a jump, right?
Yeah,
he was kind of the same player, if not worse, as a sophomore. And now we're seeing this. Whoa, what the? Whoa, what the hell is this? Ball handler?
Paulo Banchero is supposed to be the best player on this team right now, and you're challenging him.
They have guards. They got Roach. They got Akil. So they have ball handlers. So it's not like
Griffin is supposed to be taking his spot when he's healthy, right?
Supposed to be that number 2. And at times Wendell's the number 1, because it's you're trusting him now because he is a junior, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want the focus to always be on Powell, because everyone knows that's the game plan. All right, we got to stop Powell. We stop Powell. But now that can't be the case anymore. Wendell is a true threat as a distributor, as a scorer, mid range, everything, 3 levels. Like he's playing, he's just, it's really impressive to see his jump. Let's hope he can continue it. Cause hopefully it's not like he goes through that dip. But so far, I mean, I don't see where there's going to be a dip. He's played consistently good every game. Like it's been really impressive. He's one of the most intriguing. He's going to be very intriguing once we get to draft season and how teams are going to evaluate him and how much they look into freshman sophomore year and how they put that apart. So it's been impressive, man. It's been really impressive.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So Chris, we'll end the show there, man, because I mean we have 30 players that we could talk about. To even do all of them justice, this would essentially be a 30-hour show, and we just
Oh yeah.
we can't do that, right? So first off, man, just again, I can't express to you how good it is to be doing a show with you again. I miss you, dude. I know that life is busy, and between the two of us, we have enough kids to start a basketball team. So
Yeah, that and working overnights, man.
yep. And
A lot of
family
sleeping.
and keeping your relationships where they need to be, that's important, right?
Yeah,
So
you gotta keep the missus happy. You gotta
you
keep
got
the
to,
missus
man.
happy.
And I love the photos that you guys have been putting up, man. You got a beautiful family. I know that we're sidetracking away from the draft talk, but we're friends, we're family. It's good to see you and the family happy, dude. And I've just missed doing work with you. So it's fun to be able to do some work together again, man. But let's plug Off the Ball, your shows, nothing but net, just all the great work that we got going on, man.
Yeah, man. It's always fun. I look forward to doing the draft capital shows maybe more than I do my own shows. I just love the draft processes. Like you said, it's near and dear to my heart. It's what kind of made Off the Ball podcast what it was, and so that I always enjoyed the draft process and all that. But like even now, like it was Vernon Carey. It was the Vernon Carey team. See,
Yep.
there we go.
It was the
The
year
Zion team was the year
after.
before that. Yeah.
Yep.
So
I thought,
I
how
got
do I know
back.
Duke more than you, bro? It
Yeah,
must
I got for some reason I was thinking because RJ's in his third year. I got messed up sidetracked, but yeah, good.
That's because Zion hasn't really been playing in the NBA.
Yeah, well,
at
Zion
all,
hasn't
so
even
it's
played
hard
a
to-
year. Right? He hasn't even played a year of basketball technically. Hasn't even played 82 games. But yeah, you can follow me Off the Ball Pod. Like I said, I enjoy doing draft cap. Always look forward to doing these shows. It gets me going for the week. Getting ready to prepare for one of these shows. So always fun doing these. Like I said, Off the Ball Pod, follow me and all that. Like I said, got a few shows lined up. But I can't wait to do this one again. Can't wait for the next. Whoever's. We always
a sneak peek.
always got great guests on this.
Rumor has it that Corey Tulaba of the Draft Act podcast and of the No Ceilings Collective is going to be making an appearance next week, kind of as our Christmas special episode. We got a great list of prospects.
We're bringing Christmas. It's gonna be a great gift for everyone. Nothing like Corey as a Christmas gift for people,
dude. And they have done so much great work at No Ceilings, and we've had all of them on our shows collectively together, Chris. On your independent show, my independent show. Now that we're doing Draft Capital, we're trying to bring other guys in.
I think that's the coolest part is that I've had them a lot of them individually. A few guys that the newer guys that we haven't worked with, haven't done shows with, but like it's kind of cool having them as individuals throughout the years on the shows, and then them saying forming a super team, essentially, and just saying, hey, we're all good at this. Let's do it together. And Corey just being the who's a GM, a good GM. Can't think of being
Toronto,
the Bill Belichick or whatever.
Toronto. Yeah. What's the Masai Ujiri?
Masai Ujiri, and just getting this getting the super team together and building a respectable brand. You always see people talking about, and we're not just talking about any people. There's the top
Chad
people
Ford and Seth Partnall was just on Nathan's show, and Nathan just did a show with us, right? So
and it's seeing all those guys grow, it's cool. So yeah, they do great work. Always reading the newsletters and all that. There's just so many great draft people. It's that's how you get information, and there's not just the big time guys that are on the big networks. There's so many great independent workers, and it's always fun, working with them. But guys like Corey he's definitely one of the best ones in the biz.
Corey's one of the first draft dudes that I've ever had on my show. I know that he's near and dear.
He's my second. He was my. I remember just browsing through, just draft and just like seeing his profile and like he's good because he knows colors.
Oh, dude,
he got me in.
I go to him if I have any sort of graphic design question. He's my dude.
He's so smart because you don't think about color schemes,
the nuances of it,
the nuances of creating content, and he's so good with his color scheme, and that brought me in. I was like a child. Like, oh,
a moth to flame, right?
Yeah, and I remember asking him to come on, and we've been cool. He's from New York and all that, so have that connection. But yeah, it's they do great stuff. So
we had his co-host Albert on earlier in the
show.
Yeah. And the point I was getting to is that like we've started Draft Capital off getting guys who we haven't really done a lot of work with, right? Like we've known them and done some things with them, but now we're starting to get to the guys who we've done more work with and that we know more. So
this is only like the beginning. Like it's and like we've talked about this with the show. Like this show is gonna go. Like the stock, it's gonna go up.
The stock is trending in the right direction. But Chris, man,
this is going in the right direction. So I'm excited about the future of the show.
No doubt about it, bro. But we'll let the fine, if they're still listening after just listening to us gush about our upcoming guest Corey Tulaba coming on. And if you have been, it's going to be a tremendous show. We got a lot of great players that we're going to be discussing. It's going to be awesome. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, rate, and review. 5 stars everywhere that you can do it. Hit up offtheballnetwork.com for all your sports needs. OTBN or OTB_network on Twitter. Off the Ball Network on Instagram.
Right? That one.
Almost messed it up, but hey, that was my 1.0 spelling right there, right? So 2.0, I got it right. Off the Ball Network on YouTube, and just keep following Off the Ball because we're going places, man. Year 2, we're going strong. So for Chris, for myself, for Off the Ball, for Nothing But Net on Dash Radio, for Built Bar, this has been Draft Capital. We will catch up with you all next time. Much love, everybody.